Hello, everyone. Wow, it's amazing to stand here today in front of this great audience. Well, I would like to start this presentation with something that probably... okay. Can you still hear me? Okay. It seems like the light isn't working anymore. Okay. No panic, guys. We have everything under control. And actually, these technical malfunctions were happening on purpose because I wanted to prove you something. I wanted to show you what happens if one certain requirement would suddenly disappear here. And I can tell you that just now you've noticed only a small fraction of the effects, even when taking only this single room here into account. Of course, it's easy to guess I'm talking about electricity. Electricity is really existential for us today. It is an essential prerequisite of people's well-being. And right now you've noticed that only when all these technical features surrounding us are exceptionally not available for once, only then we realize that usually every one of us here is all the time supported and surrounded by electricity. I mean, when taking a look at pictures like this showing Eindhoven at night as only one of many examples, I don't think anything more needs to be said about this. And we are so used to this situation that most of the time we completely forget how privileged we actually are for having all these benefits and opportunities. And that this state here really cannot be taken for granted. Because let's zoom out here and please take a closer look at this satellite image. You see, there are many dark areas on our planet where actually hundreds of thousands of people are living. So yes, there are still places without access to electricity, and when researching facts and statistics of how many are actually affected, I was quite astounded about this number. 1.3 billion people. This is nearly every fifth person on this planet. On the one hand, this is at remote places far off, where it would be simply too much effort to connect these places with energy grids. Then, of course, while outdoor activities, while journeys or expeditions in the wilderness, in the nature, but clearly much more significant and seriously in regions affected by crises, after natural disasters and wars where electric power most of the time remains no longer available, although it would be all the more essential and crucial in these cases. And last but not least, in most cases, in areas where there has never been energy supply ever before and which simply lack the financial and technical resources to change this. So you see, there are worldwide numerous different scenarios and reasons. And I spent thought on what could maybe link all these situations, if there's perhaps something that all these scenarios have in common. And well, when reflecting upon an answer for this question, I remembered some happy and fond memories of my childhood. This is me being 7 years old together with my siblings at the place where I grew up. I come from a small town in the German Alps, and my parents were like real mountain parents. We were outside in the mountains every free moment and every weekend. And of course, we also slept a lot at remote mountain huts. And you can see here in this picture that this was always great fun. So please don't get me wrong here. Staying for a few days at a place like this can certainly not be compared with actually living in a place without electricity for an entire life. Not at all. However, I think it maybe sensitized me in some way. It inspired me. It gave me insights in the daily routine at a place like this and gave impulses to an idea. Because how does this routine look like? You illuminate your rooms with tiny little candles that you brought along, and at the same time a stove is burning already before breakfast for making tea or coffee. And basically, this is already the answer. This is a common ground that runs like a red thread through all these different scenarios. It is fire. Whenever and wherever people have no access to electricity, they use it for cooking or for heating if necessary. And against all this background, I designed IGNIS, a tool that uses the heat of these flames, transfers it into a current, and stores this electricity to provide energy where it's most needed. Therefore, it can simply be placed on a hot stove in order to utilize the heat of your oven. And it is completely irrelevant whether this is a steel stove, a clay stove, a stone stove, a tile stove, whatever. Any type works for this application. And if there's no stove around at all, the product also runs with an application for burning ordinary household liquids, like any oil, spirits, or even used frying fat that usually everyone has available at home. So now you probably wonder, how does all this work? And no worries, the answer is pretty easy. Basically, IGNIS is generating a current from differences in temperature. Accordingly, in short terms, the product has a heat-conducting surface over a heat source on one side and a heat sink, which maintains the ambient temperature on the other side. This temperature difference generates a current, which is stored in several batteries and can be used anytime while or after heating the product. So, in short, the product consists of only a very few easy modules and can be replaced and repaired if needed. But what can this energy be used for? And to throw light on this matter, quite literally, please try to forget all your mobile phones and computers and electric hair dryers for once. What do you think is the most fundamental need that can be fulfilled with already very small amounts of electricity, and which really means a huge improvement of living conditions? It is, electric light. Electric light makes it possible to stay awake, to learn, to read, to work after nightfall, and to act independent from sunlights and seasons. So therefore, on the one hand, IGNIS has an integrated high-power LED, which is many times brighter and more efficient than the flames from which the energy was formerly generated from. And in addition, the product also has an USB output for charging small electric devices like mobile phones or other external lights. However, typologically, IGNIS is still a lantern in its original sense, like a light based on flames, a lamp with a handle, something that you carry around that always changes its position in order to illuminate the areas where life is currently taking place. But beyond that, it provides a solution of how people all around the world could get access to electricity and light in a self-sufficient way, completely independent from external factors, like weather conditions or public power grids. People can now use renewable raw materials as a source of energy. And this source is already there anyway, and already in use every single day. So in addition to producing electricity and light, people can now also produce, in addition to cooking and heating, people can now produce energy and light at the same time. So only the efficiency of the flames is getting multiplied. To end this presentation, I want to say one last thing. Fire is presumably the oldest form of electricity that people have ever been benefited from, all around the world and for millions of years. However, small heat sources like open fires, like ovens or even just flames have still largely remained unexploited for producing electricity up to now. And I think it is on the time to change this. So thanks a lot for your attention.